Thanks everyone for joining us for another USI Tech Talk. This one's on Resimac chemical protective coatings. We're excited to have Wayne and Chris from Resimac with us today. Both have over 20 years of experience in the protective coatings and repair industry. Wayne is the product and technical manager based in the UK, and Chris is the technical sales support manager for North and South America. They'll be walking us through how Resimac's coating or chemical protective coatings are designed to perform in some of the toughest environments out there, and how to pick the right one. We'll have time for questions at the end, but feel free to drop your questions into the chat as we go along, and we'll make sure to read them off either in the middle where it makes sense, or at the end we're going to wrap up and we'll throw the microphones on. People can ask questions then. So Chris and Wayne, if you want to take it from there.
Awesome, excellent. Hey, Chris, thank you so much. USI, thank you so much for allowing Wayne and myself to come over here. On behalf of Wayne and myself and Resimac, we're glad to be part of this Tech Talk, and we definitely appreciate USI Unconventional Solutions partnership for the last over 10 years, I think, right, Doug? And it's over, for a long time, and we really appreciate you guys for what you do. Just as kind of a quick an idea of who Resimac is, if some don't know. So we are a UK-based coating manufacturer. We specialize in 100% solid, high-build epoxies, primarily epoxies and urethane coatings. We do have some silicone, but a full range of coating solutions and other materials that provide different repair solutions for you. And today, Chris, we'll be talking about chemical resistant coatings specifically. And so, Wayne, if you can help me, so kind of our default coating that we would normally talk about, that first slide there, Wayne. Uh-oh, did Wayne fall out?
Yeah.
Maybe, do I have?
Yeah, I did a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Hopefully you can still hear me.
Yeah,
I'll do
we
the
can
best I
hear
can.
We can't see the first slide there,
storm.
though.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a storm going on here in the UK, so the network's very poor. But
technical issues
right,
already.
There we go.
There it is. There we go. So, kind of one of our default chemical resistant coatings would be our 511 UCEN. This is 100% solid epoxy Novolac coating. Excellent coatings choice for lots of, as you can see there at the bottom, different chemical exposures. And, but what we wanted to point out was just because we have this great coating doesn't necessarily mean that that's always going to be the chemical resistant coating that either USI or Resimac or one of our other partners would recommend for your specific project, right? And so, as it is, it's important to ask those questions, those fact-finding questions to kind of narrow down or best to derive the solution for you, that recommendation. And so what we notice is that not every chemical project or chemical exposure is going to be identical, right? And so Chris, I don't know, Chris, if you can maybe give us an idea, have you ever had one of your projects, one of your customers come to you, and maybe you started off with, let's say, that 511 or another coating choice, but because of something else that came in your fact-finding questions, maybe it drove it to a different recommendation?
Yeah, a recent one was when we started talking about it, we were just talking about chemical containment. It was some cleaning solutions. Found out it was actually a like hopper, or what, I'm not sure the actual term, but inside of a street sweeper. And then we had to pivot based on, now we're dealing with abrasion and impact because it's sweeping stuff off of the street into there as well as the chemicals that it's laying down. So all those factors really, come into play. The temperature, sometimes the pressure, are there abrasive mixed in with the chemical mix? That kind of stuff. It's always really important to get all the questions out there and all the answers to make the right recommendation.
Fully agree. Yeah. So, I think that's, definitely why we would rely on USI, Unconventional Solutions, or, one of our technical consultants to help our customers come to that proper chemical resistant recommendation. And so definitely as your customer might have an application need, would greatly encourage you to speak first with that technical consultant from USI or Resimac, and that way we can ask those questions and see what that application requires. I remember one, for example, that normally I would have gone to a particular coating, but then he said all of a sudden, oh, and by the way, this is being applied in Ontario, Canada, on a rooftop. It's minus 20 degrees and it'll be snowing. So, that greatly changed. Oh, wow, that's going to limit us or change our recommendation to that. But again, something that we look forward to providing in all recommendation cases. Once we have the proper chemical resistant coating recommendation or specification, right? We would also then talk about maybe that's the correct surface preparation. Success to your project, your long-term project, greatly leans on that preparation and all the other steps that are required for a proper chemical or an application. So, those different substrates or those different those different characteristics of your application could potentially determine on what the surface prep would be required. Is Wayne still with us? I know that we've lost his video, but Wayne, are you still?
Yeah,
You're
I
there
am
in
still
spirit?
here. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've turned off the video to try and limit the amount of data I'm using. But
That
yeah,
sounds
yeah, as you
good.
guys are saying, it's yeah, it may well be for every job there may be 2 or 3 different solutions out there. There may be we may have to define what the customer needs by a restriction, maybe. So, like you say, maybe it's temperature related, maybe it's surface preparation related. So, a lot of times there's going to be.
What are some different factors, Wayne, that might change a surface preparation requirement?
So, a product like the 511 UCEN, which we showed previously, would need to be applied to a grit blasted surface, an SA2.5, NACE 2 near white metal finish to perform to its optimum sort of levels. Whereas a product like a 501 CRSG has been designed to be more moisture tolerant and more surface roughness sort of tolerant. So it can be applied to an ST3, a mechanically sort of ground surface. But the downside to that product would be it wouldn't have the same maximum resistance on there. So it would have sort of reduced sort of optimum sort of properties. So there's always a sliding scale of if you want a faster return to service, maybe you're going to have to deal with other limitations. Maybe that would have to then be a spray applied product versus a brush and roll. Whereas if you want something which can be applied, yes, in the cold and the damp, okay, you can use this product, but it won't resist quite as high strength acids and alkalis, maybe.
So, and I appreciate that. Yeah, so all of our different coating materials will have its own application leaflet that will go with it, right? So that'll go through uh, our recommended, the factory recommended surface preparation under most circumstances, okay? But one of the things that Resimac is able to extend through USI and to you and your customer would be potentially that customized method statement. So, in addition to receiving that coding specification on, hey, this is the recommended coding maybe system, we could also provide you with step-by-step instructions on application, on surface prep, and other characteristics specific to your project. So again, important to speak with your USI representative potentially to get that and then maybe custom make the application specification and application procedures for your application. So moving into what we offer, right? So as you can see, there are a full list of different coding options. And as we said, 511 could potentially be that default, but there's, so many different elements and or character or reasons why we would move to a different coating, right? Chris had mentioned maybe it's an abrasive slurry. That's in addition to chemical exposures, you also have solids that are flowing through that. And so maybe we need to get something that's chemical resistant, but also more abrasion resistant. Maybe it's operating chemical exposures, but at an elevated operating temperature, right? Or a lower temperature. And so again, those are reasons why we would move from one to the other. Perhaps it's being purged and being cleaned with high pressure, high temp steam. periodically. So all of these things are, again, those questions that we're going to be asking. In this list of materials that you see here, all of them, with the exception of one that I'll point out, are typically brush, roll, or spray applied. Okay, so very worker friendly. Okay, and things that are providing extended long life expectations, right, for working life or for lifespan of the coating itself. Now, the one though I did want to point out that's a little bit unique in that list of coatings is the 101 XHT. So the 101 is it's a two-component epoxy filler material, right? So a paste grade material. So after that surface prep, if that's exposing different corrosion and erosion wear, maybe pitting in the substrate, okay, the 101 is used to pit fill and to bring that, resurface that surface back up to, what it was originally prior to a coating going over top of it. And as you can see there, very chemical resistant, very temperature resistant in that particular application. So, we'll look forward to obviously talking to you about that if that's something that maybe your project would require. Okay. So, yeah, and then I guess I don't know if Wayne, Chris, if you have anything before we skip into this one, Wayne, did you want to add anything else to the our coding range and potentially what it is to consider in our range?
No, I think from my point of view, obviously with this being quite a short webinar, we don't have time to discuss the entire range. I think what we're trying to sort of just put across here is that we've got a range of solutions, and provided you give us the data in terms of what the problem is and what the problem is you're trying to fix, we've got solutions for you. And we don't expect you to know product range inside out and be able to define, what products we're going to use and how we're going to apply them. The key is you tell us what you need, and we've got a portfolio of products here that we can select the right bespoke solution for you and take care of all those kind of problems and trying to work things out for yourself. That's what USI and Resimac are here for, really, is to give you the solutions.
We do have one question from the audience too that I think applies right here, which is it calls out specifically 507 DWPU. Can it be sprayed? But can any of these coatings be spray applied, or is it just brush and roller?
They can pretty much all be sprayed, but it's how easily they can be sprayed or what equipment you need to spray them. So I mean, these are all high build materials, so they're all going to need airless spray equipment. These aren't sort of conventional spray, brush pots or gravity pots, anything like that. They're obviously solvent free, so we can't thin them in any way because they will lose their performance if we start adding solvents. So we're talking about airless spray. Some of the products with longer usable lives can be sprayed with a single leg unit, whereas some of the higher temperature resistant products, especially the 512 and things like that, you're going to need plural feed heated spray. So like a Graco XM or a Graco XP, because essentially what you have to do with these products is heat them, bring the viscosity down to make them sprayable. And when you get them to the required viscosity, the usable life or the pot life is going to be 5-10 minutes. So you don't have time to sort of pre-mix them and feed them through a single leg. You're going to need plural feed equipment. So quite specialist equipment, but potentially everything can be sprayed, is the short answer.
Again, like we said with the application guide, we also have that spray setup, for the great majority of these coatings, right? So absolutely. And then of course that could be something that would be added to that method statement that could give, specific direction on, our recommendation and our experiences on spray application. Yeah, that's great. I'd also mention at this point, I think that you guys have kind of touched on it, but the majority of our materials are 100% solids. Okay, so high build, which is great for these primary containment applications. And so these last two slides, we just kind of wanted to again touch on, when it comes to chemical resistance. Right off the top of my head, I typically think of liners, for tanks, storage tank linings. But our coatings can be applied to other areas that potentially could have that chemical exposure. So it could be a secondary containment, right? Something that's protecting underneath that tank just in case of a catastrophic failure. So short-term exposures, right? It could also be something that would be like structural steel that would have exposures to chemical fumes or other atmospheric exposures like that thing. Also different assets, in different parts of the application. So it could be a tube sheet and a water box and a chiller. Okay, so again, things that are, where the chemicals are flowing through a pump or an impeller, a rotor. So uh, again, all of these different elements and all these different applications, Resimac and USI, we can provide recommendations and solutions for. So again, USI, again, Chris, I appreciate you guys inviting Resimac to come and be part of this webinar, short webinar, but no, I appreciate it. This is definitely an important part of our range of protections that Resimac provides and talks to, and I look forward to other opportunities to explore and to talk about other parts of our material range. And but I'll definitely turn the time back over to you, Chris. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna allow everybody to open up their mics. If we have any questions, we'll give you guys a couple of seconds to get those in. You can also chat them in. I'll read those off as well. I think I may have just gotten a chat one. Oh, nope, that's a duplicate about the spray. So any questions from the audience?
Just going back to the spraying, you talked about the 507 DWPU. Just as an example, so next month I will be going to Slovakia to oversee some spraying of 507 DWPU, which is being used to spray the internals of some alcohol containers. So yeah, so again, that side of the business we also support. So if you're using spray equipment and you're not familiar with it, and we need to just check out you're using the right equipment and everything's working correctly, that's obviously another thing we would support.
Right, not seeing any mics or hands going up. Of course, if you guys have questions after the fact, you can always email them into us at office@usigroups.com. We'll reach out to these guys here if we need to bring them into that conversation. But thank you all for joining another USI Tech Talk. We look forward to our one next month, which is a little bit earlier in the month. It's on, let's see, the 19th. So I guess not much earlier than the 22nd, but feels earlier. And we're going to be going over flooring solutions that USI provides. So thank you again, Chris and Wayne. This was great. And we look forward to the next one.
Thank you, guys.
My pleasure. Thank you, Chris. See you guys.
Have a great one.
Take care.
Thank you.